Arboretum, actually a local one, the Gardens at Millefleur. So I kind of I guess I got all this broad breadth of experience in horticulture, and I loved all of it. But I think, and we'll probably get more into this, what I realized is I really like the people-plant connection. I love working with people in a garden space, and so I think that's why this business just seemed like a perfect fit. So.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And clearly a lot of design elements in there as well as the plants. So
yes, absolutely.
Sort of one of the keys to what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So Nate, obviously you had your journey. So tell us about your, how things started for you. How you sort of headed towards what ultimately became Five Senses Garden.
Sure. Okay. From a very young age, I've always been into nature, and during my formative years, I spent a lot of my time just exploring nature. I grew up in South Jersey, along the Rancocas Creek, which is a tributary of the Delaware here, and just did a lot of exploring along the creek and the creek and forest ecosystems there, and Jersey soil is a lot different than in South Jersey than what we have here. It's a lot of sandy soil, whereas here we're dealing with much more clay. But still, that's really where I developed my passion for nature, and did a lot of bird watching from a young age. When I was in high school, I was into bird watching, which is fairly unusual for a high school
Not so
boy.
unusual if you're British, but yes.
Right.
As an American too.
So I didn't have a lot of peers who were into the same thing. But that was really, I would say that was really formative for me. And just as I started making observations, just of my surroundings, I started sketching them. I started drawing them. I started out using colored pencil, and I would sketch and then color in my drawings, and that kind of developed over time. And I started doing that more. And at first, it was just I would just sketch some of the birds that I would see. I was really into Audubon, and I would kind of recreate some of his sketches, and I learned a lot through that. That eventually led to me studying art, and I began working with some private art tutors who were really helpful for me. Eventually, and working more towards college, I started studying design, and so kind of broadening my horizon, and just really became fascinated about how we design our spaces and live in them and use them. And
Yeah, that was a perfect background. And you also paint, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I would say I mentioned I started out doing colored pencil sketches, and as I took art lessons, and I discovered that I really love painting, particularly oils. I paint in oils, and I'm mostly painting landscapes. And to me, it's a way for me to relax. I think I feel most myself when I'm painting, and sort of helps me to decompress and to process. When I'm painting a landscape, I see myself as interpreting it. I'm taking it, and I'm taking what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling from that landscape, and I'm putting it on on a canvas. And I think that's what the process is for me. It's
So tell us a little bit about how you went, because I know exactly what you mean about you're looking at something, but it's an interpretation which is a part of you as well as a part of it. When you look at a garden and somebody's space, and we're going to talk more about this later, but I'm just interested about the relationship between that eye and then what you create in the space.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question. I think I see it in a very similar way. Is that there are so many plants that are available to us to use, and materials that we can select in any given design, and what determines the materials and the plants that we choose. I mean, there's a lot of factors, and we'll talk more about those, but it all comes down to interpretation and really the feel and the purpose and the function that you're going for. And I think, for us also what's really important is when we're working with residents, homeowners, we're working with property owners, what is this space to you? That's one of the questions we ask them. How do you use this space? What are your dreams? And really getting into their psyche, and how can we create your ideal space?
Yeah, yeah, so that they can live in it in the way that they imagine.
Yeah.
So I'll be full disclosure. I always meet with the people that I interview before we actually do the interview, and I didn't ask this question, but I'm going to ask it right now. Whether for either or both of you, were there certain people who really influenced you in your journey as developing into what became Five Senses Garden, or even when you were growing up? Was there, is there somebody that you can think of? People usually have somebody who's a major influence. Emily,
There's so many of them. But I would say the owner of the native plant nursery, Red Bed Native Plant Nursery, that I worked at as a high school student, she was the kind of, like, I would say, my first mentor who really kind of pushed me in that direction. She was amazing. And then more recently, I worked at a local garden, the Gardens at Millefleur, that Barbara Tiffany owns, and she has an incredible eye for color, incredible eye. And so design-wise, I learned a lot from her and seeing subtleties of color, and she actually designs mostly monochromatically, which was really interesting. But then when we get into Longwood, there's like dozens and dozens and dozens of people from that time period. But yeah.
Was there anybody who really pushed your growth forward?
I would say that our advisor at Longwood, Brian Trader, he was incredible, and he, I think he understood each student really well, and I think he was very good, even post-graduating, coming back and talking with him. I would meet with him periodically just about my career, and he was very good at directing me and pushing me in the right direction. So, yeah.
In the right design direction, or just the right business direction?
Business direction, I would say, Design-wise, I would say the two people who really influenced me the most, again, Barbara Tiffany, who I said, and then Jenny Love at the floral place I worked at, because she was actually a flower farmer. So and designer. So she grew the plants and then used them in her designs. And so I saw like floral design as kind of like a mini landscape. And so I got really good, and I think I've always had a really good natural sense of the detail, the textures, the combinations of plants, like in the layering of a perennial garden. And I think even doing floral design really added to that experience there.
Right.
So,
interesting. And who were those people for you, Nate?
One of my first jobs was at a nature center in South Jersey, working for the New Jersey Audubon Society, and I was the groundskeeper there. And I was there because I knew I loved nature, and it seemed like the perfect job for me. But my boss at the time was she was a botanist, and she was the director there at the time, and she really taught me a good deal about botany, and it was actually the one who introduced me to the Longwood Gardens professional horticulture program, because she had also interned there and knew of the program and suggested that it was something that I should consider. So I looked into it and eventually went there and did the program. And so, but it's because of her that I really got into horticulture, and just. I think, just seeing her passion for ecology and for botany, and I think I think through her I realized the different possibilities, in those fields, which is part of what intrigued me. But along the way, I mean, it's, when you first asked the question, I'm thinking through a long list of people, because along the way, there have just been so many people that have impacted me, and I've had a lot of people who have invested in me and helped me along the way. And, Longwood Gardens, there was so many. I mean, at Longwood, many of the gardeners, the teachers, they all invested in us and helped us, find out, what area of horticulture we might, really be
natural
most interested in. And
we had a really good design teacher at Longwood,
right?
Who actually has his own design company now. So
yes.
Yeah. And we had to actually do a design project that we installed there, which was like really good practice to actually do it. Because
And I think-
Often in design classes, you're just doing the drawings. You never
Yeah.
actually build the gardens. So that was huge that he took us through that whole process.
Yeah.
And I think that was really maybe really formative for us in starting our business eventually. And I remember meeting with him at the time when we were at Longwood, saying, "Hey, I want to open up a design business, and what are your thoughts? Can you give me any tips?" And but going through that process, the design, build, maintain, process with him in that class, and actually, physically building and
Like actually
maintaining a space
experiencing
Right.
in the gardens
Yeah.
that the guests could view
Yeah.
was one of the most valuable
Yeah. Nothing like
experiences to
actually
us.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is actually, we kind of worked together on one of
How
those
we
gardens.
met.
It was one of
We'll
our
get into
first
that
experiences working together.
And now.
I know. You never know.
So I know that people are going to be interested in hearing more about Longwood. But the next step for both of you was you both went to Temple. So tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so actually Longwood was first and then Temple. So Longwood has their 2-year horticulture program, and then they worked really hard to get articulations with a number of local universities so that you can finish your bachelor's degree, which is really nice. So we both chose Temple. It was local. They were well known for also their landscape architecture program, so we were also able to take some design courses while we were there to add, to our repertoire there. So I would say that most of our practical knowledge and a lot of our book knowledge came from Longwood, and then Temple was kind of like the icing on top. We got to fill in any gaps, add in a few additional design classes. So yeah, I think that really kind of like set us up extra well. So
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
And I think also, as far as Temple goes, just introducing us to a different area. So
Yes.
we would take field trips in Bucks County, Montgomery County, and we got to know a new set of people and mentors, and who are really
absolutely.
valuable to us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Temple's the reason that we're in Bucks County and that
Yes.
we
Oh, is
that
started
right?
our business here because
Interesting.
we
And your
moved-
business is based in Doylestown.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. It is
so,
based in Doylestown.
yeah.
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 Well, this seems like a wonderful spot where we might take a brief break, but stay with us because we're really going to talk about Longwood Gardens, because I know that, these are a set of gardens that are so admired, and I know that people will be interested in a behind-the-scenes look. So we'll be back in a few moments.
Yep.
Welcome. If you've just joined us, my name's Sue Begent and I'm your host today. I'm a business coach who focuses on empowering women solo entrepreneurs and small business owners, people who've had a career and now want to use their experience and talents to support others and grow a successful business while they do it. My focus is to help them get the tools and skills they need to create a consistent flow of great clients and a reliable income to go with it. Check me out at https://www.cocreationzone.com. All the guests on my show are members of my Facebook group, Smart Women Who Mean Business. And if you are a smart woman who means business, please join us. Today, it is my great pleasure to be interviewing Emily Reuther and, with special dispensation, her husband and business partner, Nate Reuther. Emily and Nate are the owners, designers and horticulturists behind 5 Senses Garden. Trained at Longwood Gardens in their 2-year professional horticulture program, and each with combined studies in horticulture from Temple University, Emily and Nate have 30 years of combined experience in horticulture and design. Listen in as Nate and Emily share their passion for artfully crafted structures, native ecology, and the ornamental use of plants. Plus, hear about their Longwood Gardens experiences. Also hear about their specialization, intimate gardens and outdoor living spaces, and stay with us for an amazing and very generous offer, which will be of particular interest to you if you're in the Lambertville, New Hope, Doylestown or Bucks County area and you're ready to transform your backyard into something really special. Contact Emily and Nate at 5 Senses Garden. Email info@5sensesgarden.com. And if you're listening on the radio, It's exactly as it sounds. INFO at FIVESENSESGARDEN.com. Enjoy the show. Welcome back. My guests today, as you've just heard, are Emily and Nate Reuther of 5 Senses Garden. And Emily and Nate, I know that you met at Longwood Gardens, and I know that Longwood was, very pivotal in really shaping who you became early on in your career. So tell us a little bit about, the program, and give us some insights on Longwood, because I know, most people are very familiar with Longwood Gardens in this area.
Yeah, so it was an incredible experience to be part of their program. They accept between like 8 and 10 students a year. So we were in different classes. They overlap a year, so he was a year ahead of me. But we were really grateful to be accepted. It's pretty competitive to get in. So Pierre initially, he bought the property. So Pierre Dupont started the garden back in, I think, the 1930s. Something like that. He initially started the gardens to save this forest that was going to be cut down, and to save the trees. And then he ended up obviously developing this incredible gardens and fountains, inspired by a lot of his trips to Europe.
Yes.
But in addition to like the incredible horticulture display that they have there and that he started, he was very interested in education and the arts. So, which are two other, pillars that Longwood still has. There's all sorts of art performances there, exhibits. And then the education aspect, he had talked about wanting some sort of school of horticulture, which then became the Professional Gardener Program, which was just renamed the Professional Horticulture Program. So that actually started in 1970. And next year we'll be celebrating 50 years of that program.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, we've had, I think, close to about 300 graduates. And we were both fortunate to be in the program. And
Absolutely.
2 years long, very immersive. You actually lived on the property at Longwood.
Yep.
So it was like 24/7 plants. It was amazing. And lived with a bunch of other students. So there was usually like 10 in each class. So about 20, we called them PG students back then. But I guess they're not PH students. So anyways. But then also college interns and other international students. So it was a really cool community of about 50 students from all over the world, all sharing this passion for plants. And so we did like 3-month rotations between coursework and work in the gardens.
Oh, okay.
So we had pretty much normal-ish like college semesters taught by either experts at Longwood or in the community or at local universities, and then we would spend time rotating through the gardens and working in almost all the different areas. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And there's so much variety. I mean, that
Yes.
would have been wonderful.
Yes.
Exposure to all sorts.
Yeah, we
of
got to work
different-
in like 10 different areas of the garden. Indoor display, the grounds, pest management, everything. So it was
Wow.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And academic-wise, I mean, we learned, everything from, a wide variety of plant ID courses and
Yes.
culture and care to, down to soil science and,
We had a
plant
weed
physiology.
identification
Yes.
course, which really comes in handy now.
Yeah, yes, it does.
Imagine. Yeah. Right.
We know
People
what
are
to
always
pull.
asking, what's this? What's this? And I can tell them,
Yeah.
not many horticulture programs have you do a weed identification course. So that was actually really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I thought the definition of a weed was just, was just a
Sort
plant that's planted, you don't
of.
live in the wrong place.
Sort of. But when you know what the plant is, you know how to manage it. So.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure if you've got invasive species and that type of thing. that's,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Annual
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
perennial, and
Yeah.
lots of detail. but-
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nate, did you, you were, I wanted to make sure that it didn't cut you off.
Oh,
No?
sure.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience. I mean, the fact that we met there and here we are
Right,
together
that,
is,
But everyone else was
That's
saying it's an
something in
amazing
and of
experience
itself.
too, even if they didn't meet their life partner.
but just being,
Particularly good
Right.
you happen to meet your spouse.
yes,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. But just being immersed in horticulture for those
Yeah.
2 years, and we learned so much. And the resources that were available to us
Yeah.
at that time were incredible. I mean, it was limitless. You know, it was
Yeah.
as much as you want, you know, to make it.
Wow.
And we still have those resources available to us, and you know, connections with, you know,
Yeah.
the people that continue to manage and to run Longwood and the
Yeah,
program.
it
there.
was incredible. I mean, it wasn't just like the education department that was investing in us. It was everyone who worked there. I mean, from the director all the way down. And it was incredible. I mean, every gardener, like, they would really invest in you when you were in their area. And we got to take weekly field trips, so we got to see all the other public gardens in the area.
Oh, wow.
And also, probably one of my favorite experiences was weekends. We got to volunteer / work at Chanticleer, another gorgeous
wonderful. Yes.
garden. And so that was
Yes.
cool to get like another take on a public garden and work with some of their really talented staff.
Yes.
So that was, yeah, I feel like it was really overwhelming. Like there were so many opportunities. Like I can just remember like trying to cram it all in and soak in as many of them as I could. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was definitely immersive, overwhelming, incredible. And I think we got introduced to the heart of the local horticulture community because the horticulture community is broad and very robust in the, like, I guess, southeastern Pennsylvania region. You know, we have over 30 public gardens in our area, which
Right.
people are saying is like the garden capital of the country.
Oh,
So
is that right? I didn't know
yeah,
that.
I think we have the most public gardens of any area in the U.S. at least. And so just being able to meet the staff at all these places, work at some of these places, we really got introduced, as I said, to the heart of the horticulture community and just found that it's really incredible. It's very tight-knit, and people are very willing to share their knowledge and to raise up, you know, a younger generation of horticulturists. So I think that was really confirming, like, yeah, I really want to be a part of this. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It sounds amazing. It sounds as though there were so few of you, but you were almost handpicked because of your passion for this.
Yes.
You weren't just
Yes.
filling in time, getting a
Right.
degree. You were really,
Yeah.
really invested and really passionate.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
And I have to say, how wonderful to work and to be with, you know, as husband and wife, sharing that
Yes.
passion. Like, yeah,
It is pretty awesome.
I'm sure it's a real bond. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It is pretty
Yes.
neat.
And
Yeah.
by the way, anybody who hasn't heard of Chanticleer, it's actually just outside Philadelphia on the main line. So, and if
Yes.
you love gardens, I certainly would say go and
Yes,
visit.
one of my
it.
favorites.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really lovely.
Yeah.
So, you've spoken about the variety of experiences. In what were there other ways that it really influenced your development as garden designers and as horticulturalists?
Yeah.
I think Longwood had an overall emphasis, which was to really excel in every area, and that's how they approach that's how they approach the gardens there at Longwood. They give so much detail to every area of the guest's experience, you know, in the gardens, you know, from the time they, you know, pull in to the time they leave. And, you know, so many opportunities and so a variety of ways that guests can experience the gardens. And their mission really is to excel. And to really create a memorable experience. And I think that was passed on to us.
Yes.
And it was definitely, you know, strongly encouraged, you know, when you leave here, you know, remember where you came from, you know,
Which is
you remember our
pretty cool.
influence, you know, and really, they just encouraged us to excel and to, you know, and to carry, you know, horticulture into other areas as well. I think that was
I think
neat.
it says a great deal about the leadership. I mean, from what you've just said in the last few minutes, in that down to, you know, the most junior gardener, that was the,
Yeah.
you know, they were just as passionate about that
Yeah.
as the people who were leading the program, which is
Yes.
speaks to the quality of the leadership
Yeah.
and the quality
Oh,
of
yes.
the organisation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they were incredible. And I think, too, you know, if you've been to Longwood Gardens, you know there's all these different areas in the garden with different styles. So,
Yes.
you know, there's the conservatory, there's the main fountain garden, there's the vegetable garden, there's the children's garden. And so we got to work in all those different areas that had different design styles. And
Yes.
so that, I think, was really integral in learning different gardening styles and different
Yes.
maintenance styles and different planting styles. So, you know, from like the very formal to they have this huge meadow. And one of the rotations was managing the meadow. What do you do with invasives? And so it's like
Interesting.
all across the board you got in
Yeah.
one place.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
I think also working at Chanticleer on weekends, you know, they have their own unique, highly detailed horticultural design sense. And so getting to work with those horticulturists and gardeners and
And of course, that gives you so many tools in your toolbox when you actually come to
Yes.
doing some of these small, amazing spaces
Yes.
and backyards that you do. And also, I know you do other things as well, but I know
Right.
that that's particular.
yeah, we got to learn a lot of detail.
So I have to ask, Five Senses Garden, where did the name come from, and what was the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, that's a very
It's a
good
good question. Yes, there's much confusion as to the name.
I know.
So give us
It
the
is
real
very
story.
creative.
We spent all this
But-
time picking it out, and now it's like, man, maybe that
But I
was too
think,
confusing.
really, I think what is at the heart of our name is that we're creating gardens as an experience. And so, you know, the name emphasizes the way we experience a space. Not that that's everything.
Yeah.
There's so much to the science of ecology and just, you know, how a natural system functions and how plants, you know, relate to each other and to inhabiting wildlife. But we experience it through our five senses. And I think in creating beautiful, artful gardens, we wanted to highlight that.
Yeah.
Through our senses, we appreciate our surroundings. We, I think, are able to place value in it to a degree, and our senses also help us to find personal enrichment through our spaces.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think about our own garden, and you know, early in the morning, and you know, when I come and then when I come home at night, I'm out there. I'm enjoying. I'm you know, smelling what's fragrant. I'm watching what's new in bloom. You know, I get to watch monarch butterflies in all life stages
Wow.
on the milkweed that we've strategically placed, or I would say allowed to
Strategically placed next to our
place
AC
itself.
unit.
And you know, those experiences are just invaluable to us, and you know, I want other people to have those same experiences as well.
Yes.
And if I could just add, I
Yes.
think, I'm not sure if we actually thought about this when picking the name, but I think, so when we were at Longwood, we referenced before, as seniors, we had to do this capstone project where we designed, installed, and maintained a garden in the gardens proper that guests could see and everything. And the year Nate's class did it, the theme at Longwood was fragrance, and they had this whole thing on these perfumes and things.
Oh, wow.
And the year my class did it, it was on sound. And so I don't know if we like consciously thought about that, but I think because we had spent so much time approaching gardens from, you know, smell, sound, from the senses, and
Sensory.
as a designer, because of course we weren't, you know, we were supposed to do an interpretation of it. You couldn't just like, you know, slap a musical instrument in the garden and say, oh, it's the garden of sound. You know, so I think maybe that was our lens already for interpreting
Yeah.
garden design, and I think that definitely played into that. I don't know, maybe.
And that sounds like something that really sets you apart because, you know, there's having small intimate spaces that are an extension of how people live and how they enjoy those spaces, but to have those additional sensory elements and also
Yeah.
with the sensitivity to the ecology and also to the, you know, insect life, the bird life,
Yeah.
etc. And also, I know that you like using local plants
Yes.
and so forth,
Yeah.
which is,
Yes.
you know, what belongs here
Right, yeah.
and can be just as beautiful. I remember when I first met Emily, one of the things that you opened my eyes to is the potential for actually colour almost throughout the year, which
Yeah.
is something that, you know, most of us sort of, you know, heathens like myself.
No.
But I'm being humorous. But, you know, I tend to feel as though the garden, you know, there's a period where it's just all dormant. And you really open my eyes to this possibility of beauty, you know, at any season.
Yeah,
Which is, I think,
absolutely.
a wonderful gift.
Yeah.
So what is it about these small spaces, you know, like the little backyards that we have here in Lambertville, and Newtown, Doylestown, you know, and are really spread around this area? What is it that's exciting about those spaces for you, for the two of you, when you're designing and building those?
Yeah.
A lot. A lot.
You want to start?
Do you want? I think what's most exciting to me in creating these spaces is creating something that just has intimacy, that it creates an experience. You're creating an experience. Small spaces, courtyard spaces, creating garden rooms. There's an opportunity for extreme detail. Because it's like when you're in a room, inside your home. It's a smaller space, and you're looking more at the details within the room, the pictures on the wall, the way the furniture is placed, and the lighting, and I think it's very much the same when you're outdoors. You're through windows. When you're inside, you're capitalizing on certain views. It's very much the same. But an opportunity for housing that detail and displaying it. And I think, to me, I mean, that's why I find those spaces so enjoyable.
Yeah. And it's challenging, actually. Smaller spaces are harder to design because every inch literally counts.
Yeah.
And I think often homeowners get overwhelmed, which is weird to think about with a small space, but I think it's because you're trying to accomplish so much and you feel so limited. And I think, as designers, we get really excited about the opportunity that presents to be really strategic about our design and to make sure that they can capitalize on their space.
And give them that feeling that they're
exactly. We want people to know that no matter what size their space is, if it's huge or if it's tiny, they can enjoy it the way they want, really.
And they can create a feeling in them that is what they want to experience when they walk into it.
Yeah.
I think a complaint I usually hear when we're coming to a new client with such a space is frustration with the overall flow of the space. Especially if it's a smaller space, if it's a little courtyard. If the flow isn't right, it's going to be really aggravating. And so that's one of the first things we consider is, okay, well, how are you going to use the space? Because that's going to dictate what we do. Just like in your living room, how you use the space is going to determine what kind of furniture you put and the exact layout you put. From there, then you layer in detail.
Wow. And this is obviously something that you're specialising in, and it's clearly a passion. So that's wonderful. Well, this may be also a great point to just take a short break. But if you are looking for a revitalisation, or maybe you've moved house and you actually are ready to create a whole new experience in your backyard, stay with us, because Emily and Nate have a very generous offer. And so we're going to be talking all about that at the end of the show, so please stay with us. Welcome. If you've just joined us, my name's Sue Begent and I'm your host today. I'm a business coach who focuses on empowering women solo entrepreneurs and small business owners, people who've had a career and now want to use their experience and talents to support others and grow a successful business while they do it. My focus is to help them get the tools and skills they need to create a consistent flow of great clients and a reliable income to go with it. Check me out at https://www.cocreationzone.com. All the guests on my show are members of my Facebook group, Smart Women Who Mean Business. And if you are a smart woman who means business, please join us. Today, it is my great pleasure to be interviewing Emily Reuther and, with special dispensation, her husband and business partner, Nate Reuther. Emily and Nate are the owners, designers and horticulturists behind Five Senses Garden. Trained at Longwood Gardens in their 2-year professional horticulture program, and each with combined studies in horticulture from Temple University, Emily and Nate have 30 years of combined experience in horticulture and design. Listen in as Nate and Emily share their passion for artfully crafted structures, native ecology, and the ornamental use of plants. Plus, hear about their Longwood Gardens experiences. Also hear about their specialisation, intimate gardens and outdoor living spaces, and stay with us for an amazing and very generous offer, which will be of particular interest to you if you're in the Lambertville, New Hope, Doylestown or Bucks County area and you're ready to transform your backyard into something really special. Contact Emily and Nate at 5 Senses Garden. Email info@5sensesgarden.com. And if you're listening on the radio, it's exactly as it sounds. INFO at FIVESENSESGARDEN.com. Enjoy the show. So welcome back, Emily and Nate. And so I really want to pick up really what we were talking about earlier, which is tell us about when you go into a space, say, an owner has, recently purchased a property or they're just ready to take that next step and really renovate their little backyard or whatever they're doing. Where do you start? Tell us about your process. How do you approach something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So what's really important to us initially is just getting to know the client. Who are they? What's their style? What's the function of the space? Just talking with them, understanding, have they been there a long time and they just want to switch it up? Did they just move? Just getting to know them, because that really is going to lay the foundation of how we approach the design. Some companies kind of have like their signature style, but for us, we really base the style of the project around the client. We actually really enjoy working in many different styles, as I think we've talked about in our background shows. We've worked in many, whether it's formal, naturalistic,
I can
minimalist.
imagine actually having a variety is exciting.
We really love that.
Yeah.
And obviously our clients love that too, because then it's them. And so I think that's especially important when you're working with residential landscapes. It's literally an extension of their house and it's an extension of themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's really important for us to understand what the heart of that is for them.
Yes.
And to start to interpret that. So even seeing how they decorate the interior of their home can give us really good clues as to, how to reflect that on the exterior. So.
Yeah. That makes complete sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, it's interesting if anybody listening or watching has ever been on, the garden tour. Lambertville has a garden tour, as does New Hope, and I think, most of the towns do in this area. And you go into the, through the passageway and into the back, and all of a sudden, each space is different and has that, which is exactly what you're talking about, which is perfect for this area. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So what are the types of elements that you can consider?
Yeah, good question.
I think our first priority is to create a space that's livable. We again, back to the experience. We want the owner of this garden to be able to experience it in the way that, is most fitting to them. And so, how are they going to live in it? And then, that will determine on, many of our gardens feature unique patio designs and with a variety of materials. And working a lot with, we do stonework, a lot with natural stone. We'll do flagstone patios and, different types of quarried stone and dry laid and masonry, fieldstone walls, and which are can be very artistic elements in the garden. So, a space could have, a patio with seating walls surrounded and select furniture, which can be, picked out, as part of the design process. And, we consider, are you using the space for dining, for, entertaining, maybe just, a quiet cup of coffee in the morning, while you're waking up, and maybe you just want a little chair to sit in with a little table and read, or just enjoy your coffee and think and get jump started for the day. But how are you going to use the space? And then let's create a space that.
And we've also done outdoor fireplaces, which are so cool. You can cook out there, and it really extends the season of the space.
Yeah.
Because even if it's getting a little chilly, you can just put a fire in there, and we have clients that cook in them, which is really cool too. So that creates a whole nother dynamic for the space.
Using water in the garden is, I mean, that's that can be a really key design element. Just whether you have a water feature or a pond or
Pool
or even a pool, and again how you use the space. One of the things we've done quite a number of are garden pathways. So we'll do sort of informal meandering flagstone pathway with very lush gardens surrounding it, and you kind of twist and turn. Maybe you have some seating nooks and. A way to experience the space a little bit differently.
Yeah. That sounds wonderful. I'd say I'm wanting this for my own backyard.
Good.
So what tips would you give a homeowner who wants to embark on something like this and is thinking about working with, design, build type of company? Help them get started.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think it can be a little overwhelming at first. So there's a lot of amazing companies out there in Bucks County area. I mean, we have a lot of public gardens, and we have a lot of companies. So I would say do your research first and find the company that you think fits what you're looking for.
Yes.
Because they all have different styles, different takes. So find what fits with you personally. For us, we're looking for clients who want that detail, but who also want a gorgeous design, but also care about the environment and want it to be done sustainably, because those are like both really important to us.
The
And
values.
we think that a beautiful space can also be sustainable, and that a gorgeous layered garden can also be good for our pollinators and our other, the other wildlife that also inhabit our yards. And so, for us, we're looking for someone who shares those values. And then, as far as working with us, it usually starts with, as I said, that initial meeting, just to talk about it. The first meeting is always complimentary, and we just talk things through, see what direction they're trying to take, introduce ourselves. No one wants to sign on to something until they've met the people and become comfortable. And so we totally understand that. And we just meet with you and talk with you about your space.
Yeah, and I think each time we gain a new client, I think the way we see it is it's a relationship. We're the majority of our clients. From the time we first met with them, maybe it's been 5 years, maybe it's been more, maybe it's been less, but it's a continued relationship, and we are continually invested in the gardens that we've installed, and checking in, making sure that everything's doing well, and even if it's just a quick checkup or if there are continued projects to do. But again, that aligning of values, I think, is all part of that. But I would encourage anyone considering a landscape project to really think about the space and dream big. Think about the ways that you would use the space. And ask yourself what you want to get out of the space. What is most important to you, and what do you want to see? Maybe it is providing habitat for pollinators, and maybe it's creating a quiet reflection garden where you can quiet yourself and spend time there and find personal enrichment through the garden. And we experience gardens in a variety of ways, but how do you want to experience the space?
Yes. It's interesting, as a business coach, there are so many different business coaches, but I often think, I know that you specialize in small spaces, but you also do many other things, and I also specialize, as you know, but that personal resonance is also, I think, so important. And shared values and just a shared approach really singles one out from another. I think it's great that we've all had an opportunity to get to know you, because that's, I think, an important piece. So you have also tackled much bigger projects as well. So tell us about how they differ from the small spaces, in terms of how you go about them, and what your goals are, because I imagine they're different from these small, intimate spaces.
Yeah.
Sure. I think, yes, they are very different. I think, as Emily said earlier, a small space design can be very challenging. I think one challenge we do find with larger spaces that we address is sometimes you need a smaller space, a more intimate space to kind of go in and out of. You can, in a larger landscape, you can lack the feeling of intimacy. Maybe you don't know where to go. And so, maybe you just have, you may have, for instance, take a managed meadow or a NOMA border. You may look out on it, and it's a beautiful view, but maybe you cut a pathway through it, and that meanders a little bit. Well, that's a new way to experience it. That's maybe creating the space a little more intimate. And so, maybe you have a woodland edge, and creating a small space to sit on the edge with some unique small flowering trees surrounding it in the spring that are dropping their blossoms. That's the way you experience maybe a larger space.
Yeah.
And so creating those moments for you to sit and to rest, and then to walk around and enjoy the larger views. I think what can be exciting about working in a larger space is that you may have very unique views to capitalize on, kind of like framing in the landscape, and that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And you can do multiple garden rooms or multiple different spaces. But yeah, it's funny because in some senses, I think there's similar challenges. If you had this huge open space, it can be hard to know what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And if you have this tiny constricted space, it can be hard to know what to do with it. And so I think, as Nate said, in a sense, your approach is completely different, but in a sense, it's not, because in both, you're trying to create this moment where the flow makes sense. It feels good. It's them, and they can experience it. And so I think it's funny because I think we talk about size a lot of the property and everything, which obviously makes a difference. But I think it's more creating those moments, as Nate said, which can be any size. And so, really bringing people and reconnecting with the natural world, I think. Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. You're making me want to go and visit a lot of Yes. So we're nearing the end of our show, but I know that the two of you have a very, very generous offer for anybody who's actually thinking of doing one of these, either these in more intimate experiences or even a larger property. So tell us about this, because I certainly know that if I was thinking about doing this, this would be something I'd be very interested in.
Yeah, so we do the design work, obviously. We install, and if the client wants, we maintain our garden. So there's this really nice kind of flow, continuity. But obviously the first step is the design, and that really sets the tone. So we're actually offering 20% off our design services through August 31st. If you call us and set up a meeting to get that ball rolling, we will give you that discount to help you in that process of reimagining your space.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's wow. So the 31st of August is the deadline.
Correct.
And of course, anybody who's interested is going to want to know how to contact you.
Yes.
So tell us what the best way is.
Yeah, so obviously you can Google our name, Five Senses Garden, and we'll come up. But our best email address is info@fivesensesgarden.com. And that actually goes to both of us, so we will respond to you and set up a meeting.
That's fantastic. And by the way, if you're listening, that is spelled info, I-N-F-O, at 5, F-I-V-E, senses, S-E-N-S-E-S, garden, G-A-R-D-E-N.com.
Yes,
So.
sorry about the long name there.
Well, Emily and Nate, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing all of your background, your clear passion for what you do, and for your clear talent at creating these amazing spaces. So Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us, Sue. It was really a pleasure talking with you.
Total pleasure.
Thank you, Sue, and to our host as well.
Yeah, thanks.